the great thing about guitar too is bending the strings adds so much personality. You know what I mean? Which piano, keyboards, you don't get that so much, but guitars, bass, anything with strings, you can bend and stretch those notes out a little bit, give it more character. It's one of the things I always liked about the guitar.
Well, you take someone like Angus Young versus Ace Frehley versus Zakk Wylde versus, I don't know, Steve Vai with the whammy bar, right?
Yeah.
They're all hitting the same notes. There's only 12.
Right.
But the vibrato, like you can hear Ace Frehley and know. Zakk Wylde. Angus Young, I think, probably the most out of all of them.
Honestly, I hate to say it, and people would say it to me growing up, but guitar players are a dime a dozen, right? I mean, let's face it. But you get these guys that just have that touch that makes them stand out from everyone else. And those things, you know, you can't learn those. It's like you're born with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, Ace Frehley, like technically,
probably not a great player, but the parts and just the attitude and sound, right?
Yeah. There's nothing like it.
Yeah.
You hear it and you're like, I want to pick up. Maybe here's something to think about. Maybe it's so simple that it connects to you and it makes you think, that's so awesome, I can do it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But you can. And I can maybe on a good day. But for the most of the people that have never touched a guitar, they think they can do it because it sounds so simple and it's so inviting.
That's another thing is when you forget how like interesting the guitar is. You know, it's like you see it every day. You play it every day. You pick it up every day. You've been playing for 30 years, blah, 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 blah. And you forget about all those innocent feelings and when you first discovered the guitar, just how, you know, awesome it is and how unknown it is, right? Just the simplest things like blow your mind. So it's fun when you can kind of like remember those feelings and be like, oh, I remember why I liked the guitar. I remember why I started playing guitar, right? It's just like whatever that sound was that you heard. And then you listen to it 30 years later and you're like, well, that's not so hard. But at the time it was like, wow, it's just incredible.
Yeah, there's a lot, like you could apply that to life, like a relationship. Mm-hmm. You take a relationship for granted. It's always there. It's always there. But when you didn't have, like say you're married or you have a great girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, you kind of start to take it for granted. Oh, it's always there. It's always like, But when you're single and you're a kid and you ain't got nobody, you're like, oh, well, fuck.
Yeah.
It's unattainable.
Yeah, yeah. It's great if you can keep that mentality and remember, you know, what got you into it in the beginning, you know, and keep that feeling and not forget.
I think that's a great philosophy for life.
Yeah.
Just always remember like how to rekindle that that flame and that excitement for for whatever it may be, relationship, guitar, music.
Yeah. Everything about it, just the shape and the way it feels and even just like the strings and, you know, it's just, wow.
What was it like when you got your first quality guitar after, I mean, a lot of people that have played guitar usually start off with a piece of junk or something that's very unplayable, whether it be like acoustic with the worst action, the biggest strings, and then, or like that Tiesco over there.
Right.
What was it like for you when you got your first real guitar? Were you already pretty progressed, or was it like one of those things where it just made you feel like you could hit that next level?
I remember like getting my first real Strat, and you know, before that you're playing whatever knockoff guitar and you're trying to play blues and sound like Jimi Hendrix or Stevie Ray Vaughan, right? It's just that classic tone, Strat tone, and you're not going to get it out of this guitar made in Indonesia or whatever, or that guitar made in whatever. It was like, oh, this is that sound. This is like an actual Fender Stratocaster through an actual bass, bassman head or Fender whatever, blues, exactly, whatever, combo, tube head. When you finally get the real shit and you actually hear it the way it actually does sound on the records, it's like, oh, so now I'm actually sounding like the record, not sounding like someone trying to sound like the record, because I'm using the same guitar you used on that record.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a big thing when you can, like, you save up and you buy like a real guitar, and it's like, that's the tone, man. It's like, you're not going to get it from that guitar or this guitar. You gotta use this guitar because that's where it came from. So I remember that being a thing. I was like, oh wow, man, it sounds so much more legit.
And then you probably couldn't put it down.
No.
It was just like bathroom, table, eating.
Come home from school at high school. Gotta do your homework before you play your guitar. Fine. Take the guitar case, open it up next to the table. I'm gonna do my math and look at it. You know what I mean? I'll do my homework, but I'm gonna sit here and I can smell it. You know what I mean? It's just like you're obsessed with it.
I think that's what it takes to make it in the entertainment industry in general, whether it be a guitar or a bass or a keyboard, or even like if you're going to be an actor, right? You got to have that drive. So I've talked to like some UFC fighters and photographers on this channel, and the common theme is like, you always got to be open to the opportunity, but you also have to be obsessed about the opportunities and whatever it may be in that field. So it's great to hear that it's the same thing. So there's a very common thread going through this channel.
Yeah. You come across people that are like great at what they do, or they're just like really, you can tell that they just mastered it, and you're like, wow, what trauma did you go through as a child that made you want to lock yourself in your room for 8 hours and just play and play and play and be obsessed with, you know what I mean? It's just like, you have to be obsessed with it, and it's just like, it's your whole life, right? Otherwise, it becomes a hobby and just something that you kind of do on the side. I think, people that will actually like wake up and like, I have to do this, and like think about it all the time. It's not like, oh, I think I'll do this, and then you just do it. It's like, you have to do it, right? It's like a calling from inside you.
Yeah. It definitely is. And like, there's maybe some things, like you might be good at writing, but you have to develop it. You might have a natural talent for guitar or drums. You have to develop it.
Yeah.
Natural sport, athletic ability, you have to develop it. So that's also a common theme. Like maybe some people think that, oh, I see this band on YouTube now, not MTV, but I see this band and they're just overnight success. People don't realize what it takes to get to that.
Yeah, I mean, you have to put the work in, that's for sure. You don't just wake up one day and you're Eddie Van Halen.
Remember when I said before that I realized my dad was right about the college thing? It was another my dad was right moment. I started getting rocked in practice. So that means when I get punched in the head, I started feeling like concussion symptoms, like dizzy, I never quite felt nauseous. That would be more severe, but I felt like dizzy and kind of crappy, and I just fell off. So then I realized, like, all right, my dad has been sending me boxing articles and health articles for years because he doesn't like me fighting. And I thought, all right, now that there's some danger of my brain being damaged with head trauma, I gotta call it. Because it wasn't just like one time. It was, if I didn't wear headgear, I would feel bad in sparring. So I started wearing headgear all the time. And then I thought, I'm getting older. I'm like 40. I better call it a career. You know, everyone's just getting stronger. I'm gonna start getting weaker. So I want my last fight to be a good one, a strong one. I don't want to be one of those fighters who just keeps getting knocked out 3 times before they retire. I want to have a good, strong last fight. And it was great. So I'm pleased. I'm pleased that I called it when I called it.
I've experienced chaos in the sense of falling from a forklift 35 feet, 30 plus feet, and breaking my knee and my back and, lacerating, bursting my liver, and having roofing material land on top of me and coming out of that without a drug problem on the other end, and being very present in the sense of like, I'm not trying to take prescription drugs and coming through that. So ultimately through sobriety, I found that anything is possible. Whatever I put my mind, my heart, and my soul into, and there's the sky is the limit, and as long as I'm willing to accept that energy and believe that energy within myself, everything is going to be okay no matter what.
What is the process if somebody's watching this or somebody goes to the website? What's the process, your website that is, to get married in Las Vegas? What steps do they have to take? Say they're from Alaska or Florida and they want to come to Vegas, get married. What do they have to do to start the process?
So the first thing you would want to do is, when do you want to get married? Pick your date. And then from there, like if this is the place that makes sense for you, I definitely recommend booking that date. You would have to pick out a package. We have different package, anywhere from a basic elopement where it's just the 2 of you, all the way up to the full shebang. You've got 40, 50 guests, bridal party, the whole deal. Pick out your package. And then from there, we would send you a confirmation going over all of the details. You would need to get a Nevada marriage license before the ceremony. They're open 8 a.m. till midnight every day of the year. They make it super, super easy for you. Usually takes about 20 minutes. And then you can even do a pre-application online, so it takes even less time. But that's why people like getting married in Las Vegas, is it's to the point. There's no waiting period, no blood tests. You just need to you just need to know if your first and last names, parents. If you've gotten divorced, you need to know the dates and have the divorce decree there. But it is very simple. People get married in Vegas every day, even on holidays, Christmas, New Year's, 4th of July, anytime, and any time of day too. That's why people really like it, is there's no limit and it makes it very simple. Like, I've had people in our chapel come here, get the information, book a wedding, go to the marriage bureau, come back, an hour later they're married. They're walking out, they're married, everything's done. And it's that simple to get married in Vegas.
So was the book written, or it sounds like he was writing it as he would see what you were doing with the pictures and what he had already written? Did he write more, or was it like...
Yeah, he did rewrite a few chapters, and in some spots he said he thought it didn't tell the story enough, so we had to add some pages to it, obviously, which changed the whole layout. But he would get it mostly complete, so it wouldn't change the layout too much if he changed the wording. Because the way I did the layout, there's a lot of what are called text wraps around photos. So it's not a boring, typical just text layout. It gives some interest to it. But doing that you can run into some reformatting issues if the text is changed drastically.
So when you were putting the layout together, where did you draw inspiration from? Because you come from a design background. Did you use stuff that you had already maybe had as a template, or did you look to maybe say like a different type of magazine or book in this genre?
No, I didn't look at any books because I didn't want them to look similar at all. I took a lot of what I was doing, kind of thinking about it as Kelly, when we had first initially talked and he laid out all the photos for me to look through, kind of like laying them out on a table. So I did a lot of layering of photos and, changing angles of them. So it's not just like two boring straight on images. And I pulled inspiration from all sorts of things that I've seen and never had a chance to use. I put some watercolor overlays in this book to add some color to some of the more, not boring photos, but like if it had a plain white cream background, it adds some color to it, some interest. I used paint splashes in there to give it some interest. I used a lot of like paint watercolors kind of throughout the book, just to give it some interest. I turned some of the text sideways to change it up for the chapters, and then I would add a texture inside that related to that chapter. Just trying to change it up but keep it similar. I kept all the fonts the same throughout the book so it doesn't get too crazy because there's a lot of different colors and photos going on and layouts. So I kept the text all the same throughout the book, used 4 different fonts. There's some really cool other call-outs in there, kind of like Kelly had made notes on the pages by hand. That'd be a cool little thing to do, so I tested that out.
Can you tell me the significance of the photo?
Well, that's probably part of just my heritage and being in the Navy for 45 years. The missing in action, the POWs, has always been a big thing for me. I have it tattooed on my arm. And the gentleman on the wall is a cousin, missing in action, never been found. So we still, as the people of the wall say, he's still missing in action. The wall is, and anything to do with that is a big part of my life. A missing man table set up in my garage. The walls are just covered with a lot of the same stuff. So going to the wall, I've been there before, but this time it was so much different because we went as a group, soldiers and sailors from all over the United States, to be part of the event. Not only just the wall, but everything, Second World War memorials and all the other memorials around it were a big part of my life.
How has technology like AI and drones changed the battlefield?
Well, drastically. And to your point, like I've seen combat, but I've not seen a war. GWAT, I would say, definitely was a lot of combat that we've seen. But Ukraine is a war, and that there's a very big difference in regards to those two things, especially when you experience it kinetically. It's much different. So that's something that's much different. Yeah.
What role do drones, I'm sure a lot of people have seen the footage of like the drones going after the soldiers. Where do you see the battlefield going? Since you've been in this conflict, you've seen it. Where do you see like the battlefield going? Do you see it where like it's just going to be unmanned aircraft fighting each other, or will boots on the ground still be important?
I think you'll always need to have boots on ground because you'll have to have someone that chooses to hold ground. But to your point, Ukraine is already conducting full automated missions.
Oh wow!
It's not just airborne. I mean, it's air supporting ground missions. It's drones that are on the ground with thermal and AI targetry systems supported by air assets. Where I see it going is a very scary place.
I haven't been to combat, but I'm watching it from shows like yours and like on Telegram. There's a lot of that footage, and I'm like, oh wow, this is going to be crazy in a few years.
Yeah, it's crazy now. And we've only been in this for 3 years. FPVs were like the scariest thing, and they still are. But now we're seeing fiber optic systems that you can't jam, you can't stop. They run a spool with a wire, and they're self-controlled from the operator that's on the ground. The technology moves very, very fast. Yeah,
so if there was a drone strike in America, people think that they could get a shotgun and just take it down, but it's
there will be.
There will be, right?
There will be, yeah.
Yeah, and there's not a lot you can do against a drone.
And if you understand what you're doing, any 19-year-old kid with a DJI platform off the shelf and a 3D printer and some know-how of coding can probably strike pretty deep or anywhere that they want. Yeah.
Yeah, in episode 1, I'm thinking to that. You guys talk to those. It's just like they're like kids.
Gregory.
Yeah,
Gregory.
They're in this big warehouse. And they're just having a good old time making stuff up.
Yeah.
So we have developed FPV drones with auto aiming,
right?
Special technology for FPV drone, which will let you log the target from 300-400 meters. And then this FPV will follow the target automatically, even if it loses control.
Without human control.
I was thinking like, wow, this is probably the future of like companies also for combat. It's not Lockheed Martin anymore. It's going to be like guys like that, like nerds that can, like you said, take a drone off the shelf and reprogram it, repurpose it to do what you showed in that first episode.
And that's entirely what that facility is for. Most of those people that work in Gregory's facility are younger kids, college age. They attend their classes because in Ukraine, if you're going to school, you can't be conscripted. And so then the conscription age is at 25 years old. So most of those kids in the younger age, they're learning, they're doing coding, they're doing engineering, and then when they're done with their lessons, they go to the many of drone facilities that are like this. And those drone facilities are tearing apart Teslas. They're using batteries. They're building their own air platforms, their own ground platforms. They're building automated AI targeting systems on turrets. It is some of the most impressive advancements in warfare that I've seen from a civilian base. It's quite impressive.
I guess if you're not getting the support from the government, you got to take it into your own hands.
Yeah, and I think it's also a misconception that we as Americans have too. I shared a video not too long ago on our Instagram that was showing Ukrainians building their own munitions. And we probably must have been 200 responses of like, well, this is where all the billions of dollars are going. But it's kind of like taking it from an 80,000 foot view, because most of that is Lend-Lease when it looks at those numbers, right? And those numbers are also going into HIMARS munitions and big missile systems and restructure for the entire country. Most of the drone platforms and technology has been done and manufactured inside of the country because of, for one, cost, speed to develop and change. If Russia changes something, we can see that immediately on a battlefield, and then we can shift right there inside of our own centers. And a lot of those centers today are also developing their own drones, manufacturing them, and then selling them back to units anywhere from $20 to $200 ready to kill. So when you look at a Switchblade that may cost you $60,000, and Ukraine looks at, well, I can take a $200 FPV and kill a $2 million tank. Yeah, let's build 500 more of those.
Wow, it is really like that then. Like the $200 drone can take out millions of dollars of equipment.
That facility that we walked through had air asset drones at $25 to $50 that were manufactured, developed, and ready to kill, sold to units. So a unit could come into the facility and say, I like this asset, this size, how much? Oh, 25 to X amount. and then cool, I'll take 600 of them.
That's mind-blowing.
It's a different type of war.
Yeah, because you, I don't know, I think of like, okay, you got to go to this whole research facility. It takes weeks, months, years, a bunch of guys in lab coats.
Oh, man.
Not anymore, huh?
3D printers, CNC machines, and some AI.
Wow. What is something somebody could do if there's an active shooter? Like if you're in a building, say a mall, and you're walking around, you hear an active shooter. Should you run and hide in a room? Should you, I mean, obviously you want to call the police, but like what are some things that people can do if there is a situation like that?
So the active shooter thing's or active killer or whatever they're calling it nowadays is very tricky, right? You know, if you have your family, try to get your family out of there. You know, you can hide. You can try that. That might help you, or you can fight. It's really on you. I'm not going to sit here and tell you what you should or should not do. You know, I know what I will do because I've been in those situations, but I'm not going to tell how somebody should react, you know, especially if they don't have any training or anything like that. But the biggest thing is if you're not law enforcement, best bet is try to get your family to safety. You know, try to do what you can. And if you are a CCW holder, or you train and you're proficient enough and you feel you could take the threat down, by all means try it. But just be careful, because if law enforcement shows up and you don't have any identification or indicator showing that, hey, I'm a good guy, they might think you're the bad guy. And you can say, hey, the description was given out to dispatch, but dispatch can get so many descriptions, and by the time it gets to the cops, it's the wrong description. So they're just seeing gun, you know, especially with that tunnel vision and everything like that. They just see a gun, so they don't know if you're a good guy or a bad guy. So you make sure that you know what you're doing. Make sure you take good accredited courses on it. You know, I know there's a lot of like civilian active killer courses out there. The only ones I teach are for security folks and law enforcement, but you know, best thing I can tell you is just try to get your family to safety and make sure you know what you're doing.
I started in this just because I kind of got sick of paying other people do work I knew I could do better. I mean, this is 13, 14 years ago now, forever ago. And this is back when like you had a window cut on top of your Glock and you're like, oh shit, that's the dopest thing in the world. Like that's the best. Like everyone thinking like you got an amazing cut speed. It's like, no, dude, it took 2 seconds to cut a square out of the hole, you know? So I worked at a pro front wheel drive race team where we were always building cars and traveling a bunch. So I always kind of designed the shirts and the car makeout and stuff like that on it. So kind of help with design wise. So then we started doing our guns and stuff and send those out and we get them back. And I'm like, dude, I just put it on the mill and could just cut it out. Why are we spending money on this crap? So just started doing buddy stuff really, you know, and then somebody, I don't even remember who, said, oh, you should put it on Instagram. So I put it on Instagram, and within like no time, someone hit me up and, you know, asked me how much, and I don't know, like $50. And I'm like, all right, deal. I'm like, fuck. Should have said like 70. Like he said yes way too quick. So I'm like, all right, well, let's do that, and started putting those out, and that just kind of rolled into more and more, and then just there wasn't enough nights and weekends, so then just kind of split off and did my own thing.
The only thing that I say is that if it's your first time shooting a gun, or if you've been to the range, you know, maybe a handful of times, I'll try to typically do a private first, just to make sure that, you know, when I run a class, that person's not going to be any issues flagging anybody and stuff like that, and no safety concerns. So I always try to vet the student whenever I have them come in. I'll DM them or text them, you know, I'll get their phone number and ask them like, hey, when was the last time you trained? You know, or have you ever trained with any other training companies before? Genuinely asking too, because I want to know where they're at in their skill set and in their mindset, right? Oh, if they say, oh, you know, I wanted to do this class, in all honesty, at that point, if they hadn't had the basic mechanics of a firearm, but they're wanting to do competition style shooting, or, you know, moving and shooting, things of that nature, it becomes a huge stint on their training, because they can't even conduct a reload efficiently, right? So now I'm asking you to drive at 150 miles an hour, and you're not really capable of driving 50 miles an hour, right? So if I can get you the basic platform first before you guys hop into a full movement class or stuff like that, then that's the part where it's like, okay, cool, like, you know, let's do that before we do this, you know. Again, it just comes down to a safety thing. You know, I just want to make sure that my classes are always safe. There's zero, knock on wood, but I've had 0 accidents, so I want to keep it that way. I like to keep that undefeated title.
You actually don't need anything to take a course. You just sign up for it, take the 8-hour course, shoot, qualify, and pass the test.
What's one of the weirdest things that's happened during your CCW class?
Not here, but at a different place I worked at. We actually had to kick a guy out because we're not almost 100% sure he was operating on ether.
What does that mean exactly? I'm sorry.
Ether's like that, or it's kind of like that joke where somebody smells a rag, like, oh, does this smell like ether? And then they pass out.
Yeah.
He was sitting in the class all the way in the back, and he would take out a towel from his pocket, sniff it, and then we would watch him fall asleep. And he would wake back up and be ready again.
That had to be addiction, right?
Easily.
Yeah.
Basically, I was a skater growing up in high school and just listened to music all the time. I was always afraid of guns, actually. First time I ever saw one, my grandfather pulled one out. It was a big, shiny revolver. I just remember being scared.
What changed your mind?
Figuring out that I was actually an expert shooter in the Marine Corps. Loved shooting every single weapon system, especially shooting cannons. My name is Jesse Romero, and I work the retail at 3702. I love working here every day. If this was the only option, this is the only job I would do for the rest of my life if I could. This is just too much fun. It should be illegal.
Yeah, they're bullet catching systems, bullet traps. For those that are not familiar, when every range has different ones. The current ones that we have, you're going to look in as 2 AR-500 panels at angles, and in the middle you're going to see an opening. So when you go into the back, you're going to see that it's a giant cylindrical tube. If you've ever seen a water heater, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Just cylindrical. The bullets come in at an angle and they continue to spin until all that inertia is lost, and it drops into a little bucket. And twice a week we collect that lead, put it in a hazmat area, and then that gets recycled, I want to say twice a year.
Can you walk us through what an average day is like from the start to the end of your shift?
Yeah, I mean, an average day, you walk in, you say hi to everybody, you check the list for when your trap times are, because you're going to have to sit on trap for between 1 and 2 hours every day. If they're only running one range, it's 1 hour. If they're running 2 ranges, it's 2 hours. You go to the back, you make sure there's no mags to load. When that's cleaned out, or belts to load. All right. When that's done, you head to the back and make sure the targets are full, the cardboard's up, for shooting with, the clips are up for people that need to use those. Don't shut it off. Just depending on what we have going on, whether we're filming a video that day or whether we're just taking groups. There's days where we're just running because you get so many groups. And with the groups, you shoot the group, you shoot with them, you run them through their package, bring them back, get their targets rolled up, sign all the targets, get everything set, get them out the door. Go back, grab their mags, take them to the back, and start loading them. This is what we do. Get them loaded so we stay on top of the mags so we don't run out during the day. And then basically it's clean up the last hour, it's clean up the garbages, get those all out of the range, sweep up the ranges, clear and check all the guns, get those put away, and then make sure there's no more mags left in the back to load. But there's 5 or 6 of us doing this. Everybody's got a certain area, and then you're good to go after that.
Before they go on the range, we give a safety briefing. So the range safety officer breaks it all down. They explain, you keep your eye and ear protection on at all times. Don't mess with it until you come back out into the lobby. And they break down the experience for them just so they know what to expect. I try and explain as well ahead of time because for me, I'm the first point of contact when they walk in the door. So I get them from never seeing a gun before to shooting, something fully automatic. So we try and give them as much breakdown of the process and as much explanation as possible just to make people feel comfortable, because a lot of the time there's a lot of nerves and apprehension just because it's so unknown and they've never done it before. And it's different when you're here in the moment and it is loud and crazy and everything's moving fast and there's a lot of people around.
A lot of pressure.
Yes. Yeah. But it's fun. It's a good time.
So when we took over, I started noticing people coming every day that were fans of the game. And I'm like, I feel like I'm a Star Wars geek personally, and I have been, so I've been since 7 years old. So I get the fanship, and I'm like, if I went to somewhere where Star Wars was filmed and they didn't even acknowledge it, I'd be kind of disappointed. And at the time, we just had like a Xbox game on the wall or something. And I'm like, let's let people, celebrate it. We'll dedicate a whole wall in the dining room to it. And people can donate items. We'll have a little mini museum. And then it built from there. And then I said, let's try for National Video Game Day, which happened to be in July. Let's see if Fallout fans want to come together and meet up here. So we thought we might have 50 to 100 people show up at best, and 1,000 people showed up right off the bat. And so we kind of had to wing the whole day. We were totally not expecting that many people, and we had a cosplay contest and bands and stuff set up, but it really wasn't designed to have 1,000 people. So but Fallout fans love the adventure and spontaneity factor. So since then, we've done an annual event, which we now call the Fallout Fan Celebration, every year to have the fans have a specific time of the year to come out and celebrate together. And it's really cool. The second year, we're like, oh, we might have 2,000 people, so we better, do it 2 days and spread it out and stay open 24 hours. And instead, we had 3,500 people show up. Then the third year, we had almost 6,500 show up. So this year, we could have as many as 10,000. So we did it 3 days this year. It's in November, 14th, 15th, and 16th. And we're spreading people out with different areas in town and other venues. We're going to be people have the ability to be bused to other venues that are in the game, that are in Southern Nevada. So we have people from all over the world come, and in some cases, this is their only time they've ever been to America. And it's like, hey, I want to hit every spot in Fallout New Vegas. So it's turned into its own beast. And luckily, I had a live events company called Butter Popcorn Entertainment that could tackle that. And so now we have a whole fantastic team. We call them the Fallout Commission or Committee of passionate Fallout fans that help organize the thing every year. So it's turned into its own beast. But it was interesting when I took over, I didn't know that facet of it. In fact, I had never played the video game. So I took it upon myself where I'm like, okay, for business purposes, I got to play video games at least 10 minutes a day to learn the game and know what I'm talking about. I was like the first gamer generation with the Atari 2600 and all that stuff. So I always loved video games growing up, and I just haven't had as much time in the last 10 to 15 years with businesses and music and stuff, but I was happy to have to add that to my regular routine business to play video games. So you got to do what you got to do for business purposes. I'm just saying.
Howdy. What can Easy Pete do for you?
Let's talk about Fallout and the old Las Vegas Mormon fort. I don't know why we're so far behind in the game, but about 5 years ago, we found out, and kind of discreetly, that this place is in a video game that was created in 2010 called Fallout New Vegas. originally fans were coming in here and discreetly, we didn't even know they were fans, kind of creeping around. They paid their admission, they were looking, but they knew this was in the game. And when we started realizing that, we thought, well, we need to open our arms to these people and find out more about it. So the previous interpreter of the old Las Vegas Mormon fort's name was Carson, and it happened to be a Friends of the Fort member named Cindy knew about Fallout. One of them played that. Cindy played the game, and Carson and Cindy got together and said, how can we welcome Fallout fans here at the fort? And since then, we've grown into really embracing Fallout. In the video game Fallout New Vegas, this is a post-apocalyptic time, and this particular site is a hospital. The followers of the apocalypse is what the people are that man the fort in the game. And they're into well-being and goodness and kindness. And we embrace that. So behind me, you'll see this flag is the followers of the apocalypse symbol. And we have a followers of the apocalypse lab coat because they're like doctors. We really embrace that. And also in the game, which is really cool, that all of these things is we're discovering. I discover something new about Fallout every time I talk to a Fallout fan, which is almost every day here at the fort. You have to discover these snow globes hidden throughout the game. And there happens to be one here at the old Las Vegas Mormon Fort. So we put a snow globe where it is in the game, here on the actual site. So there's a bastion outside, or a tower. And in the game, this snow globe is up in the tower. If you go out onto our grounds, we only tell Fallout fans this. You'll look up into the bastion, and while you can't climb up there, we do have mirrors so that you can see everything that's planted up there, including the snow globe like the game.
A number of our museum staff here are video gamers, and they've always loved the Fallout franchise. So as we talked strategically about, hey, where do we want the museum to go next? He said, well, what about Fallout? Well, then the question is, how do you get in touch with all the right people that could make that happen? And one of our museum senior staff, our director of education, Matt Malinowski, actually just did a Hail Mary. He did an email out to Bethesda Game Studios, and they answered him back and said, yeah, we'd like to talk. In fact, we're coming out for Pioneer Days in 2024. We could stop by the museum and talk with you. So they did. They came out here, we talked with them a little bit, and that started almost a year-long interaction where we talked about how could we partner with Bethesda Game Studios, what would be the content of a Fallout display, how can we make it fun for the Fallout fans, and then what would it consist of? And what you see behind me is a result of all that effort that we just opened here in November, what we call our World of Fallout display.
Is it like its own Fallout display, if you will, that encompasses all the games?
Well, one of the first things that Bethesda Game Studios said is that anything we displayed, we need to do it in a manner that was also going to have an educational tie. So not just showing every artifact or every item from the game. Talk about, well, what would you find in the real world? Because it was the real world that kind of influenced the Fallout narrative, that influenced the Fallout lore. And so try to find that means of communicating both. So directly behind you, Chad, for example, we have a Pip-Boy, and right next to a Pip-Boy, we have a Geiger counter, because a Pip-Boy in the show allows you to measure radioactivity. So talk a little bit about both. Since we're in Vegas, obviously Fallout New Vegas is of great interest to both us with our community as well as to the Fallout franchise. So we also have some really cool things on New Vegas. We had the University of Nevada, Las Vegas's entertainment engineering program built us a almost perfect replica of the Welcome to New Vegas sign. They took the Welcome to Las Vegas sign, as you've seen in both the game and also in the TV show, incorporated all of the attributes of that. And so they did that, and we love that kind of partnership because we get a great display item that really draws our fans' interest. But these, young men and women that help design and build it, they get something for their portfolio that helps them as they graduate from college and go on to their careers. So we try to find all that right mix of things, develop it, worked iteratively with Bethesda Games to make sure that everything we had, whether it be a graphic display, was going to always fit in within the Fallout lore and franchise, was always going to be correct and accurate, and it was also going to anticipate a fan's interest.
Allison, what can you tell me about these mannequins here?
So these mannequins here, I actually purchased from a show that was on the Strip at the Venetian, and I sat on them for about 9 years because I didn't know what I wanted to do with them. In 2020, I obviously had to cover my rent. Everything was shut down, so I ended up taking them out, posting them on Facebook Marketplace, letting people see them, and I've sold the males, maybe 10 of the males, and then I had females here. The females went immediately. Everybody loved those. They were like Victorian-style. And then also the Golden Steer rented these from us during COVID because where you couldn't sit and next to people on the tables, they had every other table. They had the mannequins there, and they were dressed up like this guy was Clint Eastwood in the way back. It was all like the Rat Pack. So they kept renting them over and over again. These ones right here, I'm not sure if you can see them, but these are the very old girls that I'm trying to figure out where they came from, what style they are. I don't know. I keep asking vintage mannequin groups and I can't get an answer, but that's something that's really unique. We also have, this is my favorite guy, my emo guy. He's not for sale. Sometimes I kind of get attached to mannequins and I just don't want to sell them for a long time. So he's part of that crew right there.
Do you name the mannequins? Do you have names?
Back in the day when I first started, I did. We had Daniel was the very first mannequin that I ever bought. And it's funny, I ran into him I was at a convention and I saw him and I thought if you run into someone from high school or something, I saw him, I was like, oh my gosh, there's Daniel, and realized it was a mannequin, not a person. But it's been so long that I don't name them anymore.
So it brought back memories just like a person.
It did, yeah. Yeah, it was funny.
It must be real easy to do because they look just like humans.
Yep.
They look you get different genders, different races.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it was like seeing an old friend then.
It was, yeah. Yep.
Are there issues with, say, somebody buys a skull or some human bones? Is there issues transporting that across state lines or shipping that?
The only ones you really run into are protected species. So in California, bears would be hard to ship back to California. But there's only 3 states you can't have human remains. You can't own human remains. And that's Louisiana, Georgia, and Tennessee. And a lot of that kind of comes from the above ground graves, because you get hurricanes that come through and then above ground graves, you might get a skull floating through your front yard, So some of that's what I've been told, at least. It comes from a few things like that. But as far as transporting a lot of things, there's a lot of ways around TSA, honestly. You can still transport, taxidermy, no problem. Even wet specimens, I have ways of doing that too. And I make sure everybody knows who comes in. I have ways that I can pack these things that you can fly with it, which is definitely the preferred way to go. If you have a choice of putting it in a box and shipping it versus holding it on your lap and flying with it, definitely fly with it. Much safer, much more control over it.
Do you ever run into issues with law enforcement coming in, going, where did you get that fetus? Or
no, thankfully. We haven't had any issues whatsoever. And everything we do is above board. We're licensed taxidermists. We try to make sure everything's completely legal, completely above board. We have the papers of where these things, the human pieces have come from, things like that. And you can tell they're medical specimens. They're prepared with the pins and things like that where they used to hang in a classroom. So it's very obvious that we weren't out murdering people and taking their bones. I can't even hunt, honestly. I come from a small town in Ohio where that was a big thing to do, and I cannot do it, honestly. It's not in me at all.
Is that because a lot of people are scared of snakes?
Absolutely. They've been demonized for centuries. Are you kidding me?
Where do you think the demonization of snakes came from?
Well, let's start with the Bible.
Yeah.
Adam and Eve, who gave the apple? The serpent, per se. But they didn't say snake. They just said it's a serpent. So, but yeah.
They're just God's creatures.
As you can tell, she's very aggressive. Vicious animal. Nah. She's really a puppy with no legs. But really, she still has her legs. You want to see?
Oh yeah, I do hear they have their little...
You see those tiny little hooks?
Forgot about
That's their vestigial limbs. So if you x-ray right here, they still have their hip bones. So there's their body, there's their tail. They primarily just use this for mating nowadays, but yeah, they still have their legs. Yeah. That's your Snapple Fact of the day.
My name is Dottie Delamorte, and I'm representing my little shop called the Crimson Cathedral. Right now, I'm creating, rosary chokers. I make jewelry that I would wear, and I found that it sells really well. So people are interested in things that I've never been able to find something like this on the internet. I just sell things that I like. I make things that I like. And it makes me happy. It's something I'd really like to do full time. And selling it here at the Goth Market is my first step into trying to do that.
Where do you draw the inspiration for the headpieces from?
I'm going to tell you a whole story.
Yes.
So I started with mermaid crowns, and I used to work in a vintage and costume boutique, and my boss really encouraged me to get into the Burning Man scene. And from there I started using animal pieces, more bones than anything. And really when I found antlers and ears is when things took off. I love the organic nature of the beauty of an animal and really having that be a piece of what you can become. And so you can become more this inner beast that you feel most days, if that makes sense.
You seem like a really mellow person, and then hearing you talk about becoming a beast, how does that work?
So outside of this, in my everyday life, I'm an extreme introvert, and I through years of costuming, dressing up for Halloween and stuff, working at this costume shop, I developed this different persona that when I put on a headpiece, I change completely. This is not my normal, everyday me. This is I'm going out in the world and changing my appearance and being the most ferocity that I could be.
Can you walk me through the process of how you start learning the stunt to actually performing it?
So when I first started it, we had just grinded down some fish hooks, and it's just, you have to put it in your eye. That's all it comes down to it. You just gotta be brave enough to put it in your eye. And I didn't have any weight added. It was just the chain attached to the hook. And I want to progressively add more weight to the hook. But right now I have that cute little puffer fish and I love them.
Is there any kind of notch or anything when you put it in there? Is there a little notch in your orbital that it goes in, or what keeps it from sliding?
So there is a little bit of it. It's just kind of deep down.
and that keeps it from sliding.
Yeah. Also, keeping my eyes shut while I'm swinging the chain definitely helps.
Was there a stunt required you to invent your own technique because there was no guide or teacher?
So when I had first asked my teacher to teach me the Human Blockhead, he originally said no. So I was like, fine, I'll teach myself. So I remember going home and grabbing a Q-tip and just shoving the Q-tip in my nose as far as it can go. And I was like, I'd rather start with something safe compared to an actual nail. But then I remember that same day, I was like, you know what, we're just gonna try with the nail. So then I put in like a 2-inch nail. So that one I definitely learned alone.
How do you know when a stunt is ready to go and perform?
Well, I'm really wanting to just perform it from the get-go, and I need to like take the time to practice it at home. So once I feel comfortable enough performing it at home and like have an act down and everything, then I'll be like, okay, I think this might be ready to perform in public. Like the fishhook one, I had only practiced for maybe 2-3 weeks before I did it for my first performance.
And then when we get into the nice toys, my favorite, we have the sword. So this sword is actually very, very important to me, mainly because it's one my dad got me for Christmas after I'd had one of my other swords stolen from me. So this is a real U.S. Army cavalry blade. This is the ones they discharge U.S. Army officers with. It's even got the emblem there and the engraving stuff. So it's actually still has a very intense edge. Other sword holders have seen the edge on this sword and they're like, dude, that's dangerous. What are you doing? I'm like, it hasn't cut me yet, so we're doing something right. But yeah, so it's 19 inches long, goes all the way down. You want me to swallow it?
Sure.
Might as well, right? Smooth like butter.
To some.
To some. Yeah, but did you see it vibrating to beat the heart?
Yeah, that was interesting.
You're a little at a loss for words, aren't you?
Yeah, I really am.
Good. That's what I strive for.
Thanks for watching Untitled Interview. If you liked the conversation you just watched, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you're interested, there's lots more just like that right here.